Wall Street, a city built on money, power, and blind trust. For decades, one man stood above everyone, respected by all. His name was Bernard Lawrence Madoff.
This is not a story about greed alone. It's a story about trust and how easily it can be destroyed. This is the rise of Bernie Madoff. On Wall Street, his name carried power. Say Madoff, and people listened. He didn't beg for investors. Investors begged him. Being accepted by Bernie Madoff felt like winning a private invitation to safety. Exclusivity made him untouchable. He became chairman of NASDAQ, a symbol of credibility in American finance. That title erased suspicion. If regulators trusted him, why shouldn't everyone else? Banks followed, hedge funds followed, charities followed. Month after month, investors received statements. The numbers were calm, consistent, predictable. No extreme highs, no crushing lows. Even when markets collapsed, Madoff's returns barely changed. And that stability felt like proof. People stopped asking questions. They trusted reputation more than reality. Friends told friends, families followed families. Entire communities invested together, and doubt slowly disappeared. A few experts noticed something strange. The math didn't work. The returns were too perfect. No real strategy could avoid losses forever. But those warnings were ignored. Madoff's reputation became his shield. Questioning him felt unnecessary, even rude. He looked calm, professional, in control. Inside his offices, everything appeared normal. Nothing looked broken. But behind the calm, there were no real trades. No real investments. Just paper statements and belief. A lie so large, it required absolute silence. And one day, that silence was going to break.
Madoff.
From the outside, Bernie Madoff's world looked perfect. A respected firm in the heart of Manhattan. Quiet offices, calm confidence. Nothing about it suggested danger. To investors, this wasn't risk. This was safety. Money poured in from everywhere. Old clients stayed. New clients begged for access. And somehow, Madoff always appeared calm, as if he was in complete control of something much bigger. Investors didn't just sign papers. They signed away trust, life savings, retirement plans, futures built over decades, handed over but access to Madoff was carefully controlled. Not everyone was allowed in. That exclusivity made people want him more. If you were accepted, you felt chosen. Scarcity created desire, and desire created silence. The fewer questions people asked, the safer the lie became. Every month, statements arrived. Clean, professional, perfect. Numbers rising gently, never too much, never too fast, just enough to feel believable. No matter what happened in the real market, these graphs never fell. No losses, no surprises, just quiet, steady profit. When the stock market panicked, Madoff's clients slept peacefully. While others lost everything, his numbers stayed untouched. That perfection was the warning sign, because real markets don't behave like that. Real money doesn't move in straight lines, but nobody wanted to hear the truth. As long as the money kept coming, silence was more comfortable than doubt. Behind the scenes, a few experts began to notice something strange. Hedge fund analysts studied the numbers carefully. The more they looked, the less sense it made. Madoff's strategy couldn't be explained. The math didn't add up. The trades he claimed to make simply couldn't produce results like these. Some people tried to speak up. They warned that something was wrong, that this wasn't genius, it was deception. These warnings were sent to regulators, detailed reports, clear red flags, but instead of action, they were quietly filed away. The agencies meant to protect investors failed to act. Investigations were shallow. Questions were never pushed far enough. Madoff's reputation shielded him. A former NASDAQ chairman, a respected Wall Street leader. No one wanted to believe he could be a criminal. He knew the right people. He spoke the right language. And in a world built on connections, that was everything. Madoff also wrapped himself in charity, foundations, hospitals, community causes. Giving created trust, and trust created silence. Many charities invested everything with him. Money meant to help the sick, the poor, the vulnerable. For many investors, these statements weren't just numbers. They were proof that decades of hard work had paid off. A promise that retirement would be safe and worry-free. These investments represented memories yet to come. Family vacations, grandchildren's futures, moments that hadn't happened, but were already being trusted to him. But behind those comforting numbers, nothing was real. The safety they believed in never actually existed. Late at night, when the city slept, the truth remained hidden. No trades were being made. No money was being invested. New money didn't go into markets. It went directly to older investors. One promise paying for another in an endless cycle. Madoff knew this better than anyone. He lived with the pressure every day, knowing one wrong moment could end it all. This was the heart of the scheme. A classic Ponzi operation. As long as new investors kept coming, the lie survived. For years, the scheme continued. No arrests, no consequences. Each passing day only made the disaster. Then the world began to shake. The financial system trembled. And for the first time, Madoff's perfect illusion was in real danger. As the crisis deepened, fear spread quickly. Investors watched the news and felt something they hadn't felt in years: uncertainty. The confidence that once surrounded Madoff began to fade. Phone calls poured in, emails stacked up. People wanted their money back. Not profits, just their original savings. The requests grew louder every day. Withdrawals that once came slowly now arrived all at once. But when they looked inside, there was nothing there. No hidden reserve, no emergency fund, just emptiness. For the first time, Bernie Madoff had nowhere to turn. The lie had grown too large, and time had finally run out. The financial storm outside mirrored the one inside his world. Collapse was no longer a possibility. It was inevitable. Madoff finally told his sons the truth. He admitted that there were no investments, no trades, only lies. $65 billion had vanished. Money that represented lives, dreams, and futures that could never be replaced. The illusion was over, and the fall of Bernie Madoff was about to become public. Early the next morning, federal agents arrived. There were no sirens, no chaos, just quiet footsteps, walking toward the end of a financial empire. This wasn't a dramatic chase. It was calm, controlled, almost respectful, the way powerful men are arrested behind closed doors. Bernie Madoff did not resist. After decades of deception, he simply stood up and walked away. Within hours, the news exploded. Headlines spread across the world. The trusted genius was now a criminal suspect. The scale of the crime shocked even seasoned investigators. This wasn't millions. It wasn't billions. It was something far worse. As the case moved to court, the truth began to surface. Piece by piece, the illusion collapsed under real scrutiny. Investigators uncovered decades of lies. Fake trades, fake records, fake profits, all carefully manufactured. In the courtroom sat the victims, retirees, families, charities, people who had trusted him with everything they had. For many of them, this wasn't about money anymore. It was about betrayal and the lives that had been shattered. And as the courtroom emptied, one truth became clear. This case wasn't just about a man. It was about a system that failed. In June 2009, Bernie Madoff stood before a federal judge. The man once praised as a financial genius now faced the consequences of decades of deception. He did not fight the charges. He did not deny the crimes. He stood quietly, knowing there was no escape left. One by one, they spoke. Stories of betrayal, of shame, of futures erased by a man they once trusted completely. The sentence was absolute. 150 years in federal prison, a punishment meant to ensure he would never walk free again. The world reacted instantly. Headlines exploded. Shock turned into anger, and anger turned into disbelief. But the punishment didn't end in the courtroom. It followed his family into silence and isolation. His wife and children became targets of public rage, hounded by media, judged by strangers for crimes they didn't commit. The damage spread deeper than money. Relationships collapsed, lives unraveled, and some wounds never healed. As the prison doors closed behind him, Bernie Madoff left the world he once ruled. But the pain he caused remained behind. Bernie Madoff entered prison as inmate number 61727-054. Inside these walls, power meant nothing, money meant nothing, only time remained. The cell was small, silent, a sharp contrast to the luxury penthouses and private offices he once controlled. Age caught up with him quickly. The confident smile vanished, replaced by exhaustion and regret. In prison, he was no legend, no mastermind, just another inmate, known only for the damage he caused. The fall was complete, from Wall Street royalty to eating meals in silence among strangers. Outside the prison, victims were still rebuilding. Some recovered a portion of their money, many never did. For retirees, there was no second chance, no new career, just survival, after trust had destroyed everything. Madoff didn't just steal money, he shattered faith in the financial system itself. His wife, Ruth, lived under a shadow she could never escape. Friends disappeared. Doors quietly closed. The Madoff name became a curse, one that no apology could erase. In 2010, the consequences reached a breaking point. Bernie Madoff's eldest son, Mark, could not live with the weight of his father's crime. Health failed, strength faded. The once untouchable man became just another aging prisoner. After Bernie Madoff, Wall Street was forced to look at itself. The system that failed, millions trusted.
Investigations revealed ignored warnings, missed red flags, and opportunities to stop the fraud that were never taken.
Madoff wasn't invisible, he was overlooked. For years, his returns were too perfect, too consistent, too good to be true. But trust replaced verification, reputation replaced proof. The first lesson was simple: if something feels impossible, it probably is. Out of loss came awareness, survivors spoke, stories were shared, and future investors listened. Laws changed, oversight increased, but trust would never be the same. Madoff's crime reshaped the way America views wealth, power, and credibility. Time did what prison could not. It exposed the full cost of greed. The next generation learned to ask questions, to demand transparency. Some rebuilt slowly, painfully, but stronger. Madoff left no legacy of achievement, only a lesson written in loss. Fraud survives when no one asks questions. Power without accountability always collapses. Behind every number is a human life. This wasn't just a crime story, it was an American warning. A single lie, repeated long enough, can destroy generations. Bernie Madoff's name will forever mean one thing. Not genius, not success, but deception. And a reminder that no one is untouchable. Greed always leaves a trail, and eventually it always leads back to the truth. This story is not just history, it is a warning. Question everything. Trust wisely, because the next Bernie Madoff may not look like one.
This was a true crime story.